welcome to another episode of the Working It Out podcast. I'm here today with an amazing guest. We've got Kelly Newton on from NIXI Body. Welcome to the podcast, Kelly.
Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you for having me.
So what we jump straight into the first question is around our Working It Out locker. So this locker's had some crazy items in the past, and it's to do with your relationship with physical activity, a physical thing throughout your life, an item which you would like to induct into our locker. What would it be, please?
Do you know what? I'm going to say my leak-proof knickers. Just literally because throughout my youth, throughout all of my years, basically since I started having periods at 14, 15, I've really suffered with periods and bladder leaks. And although it didn't really affect my game, it did to a degree because I've got like core memories of trying to play netball, wearing horrendous, like huge pads. And I know that if I'd have had what I've got now, it would have made such a difference to my confidence and my game. Yeah, sorry, I'm going to go straight in with a shout out for my knickers, my leak-proof knickers.
No worries at all. The whole idea is something that means something so personal to you. We'll phase into what the business is. And so I think we'll start with netball. So was that your sport growing up?
So I actually started playing football first. So I've got a beautiful black and white photo of me, aged 9 years old in 1980 with my team. So I grew up on a huge sprawling council estate in Kidbrooke and poverty-stricken, whatever. But there was one of my friend's dads run his son's football team, and the Metropolitan Police used to organise this big competition every summer for inner London teams. And it was for both boys and girls, which I think was quite unusual. And we used to go and play these tournaments against other girls' teams. And he set this team up for us. So that was my first foray into playing sports and absolutely loved it. So I've actually got a video of me playing, and they used to call me Chopper Street because I literally just would go in and wipe the girls out. That was my tactics. Because obviously we didn't really train. We just turned up with our trainers on, whatever, and our kit, and just ran out on a pitch. Absolutely loved it. My next game after that was when I started secondary school. So we didn't do a lot of primary school. The boys had their playground and the girls weren't allowed in their playground. They played football. We had skipping ropes. We had a ball in a pair of tights that we used to bash off of a wall around us. Those kind of games that the girls would play. But then I went to an all-girls comp in South East London, and my PE teachers were amazing. I was in the netball team, I was in the hockey team, I was in the football team, I was in the basketball team, I was in the volleyball team, I did gymnastics, I did dance, I threw the javelin, I was in cross country. And that's where my love of sports came from, was playing in all of these teams at school. We were really lucky in the early 80s to be able to do all of that, especially in a girls' school. I then carried on playing netball when I left school. So my aunt played for a team and I joined. I was centre in my after when I left my work team. When I left school and was working the team that I joined, the local team that I joined then. I also played hockey as well. So I was between hockey and netball at that stage. Yeah, and then played netball probably for about 30 years for various teams. Stopped when I had the kids and then went back when the kids are a little bit older and I had a little bit of support looking after the kids. And then my last team sport I played was hockey. And I probably gave up hockey about 2 or 3 years ago. And that was purely because my body wouldn't move as quickly as I wanted it to. And it was getting very frustrating. So I run really slowly, which I'm not ashamed to say because at least I'm getting out and I'm doing it. And I also play the occasional game of golf. So I played a lot of golf, I think the year before last, very sporadically in the last year or so because of the business, obviously. So, yeah. Give me a sport and I'll give it a go.
I'm going to try my best not to talk golf at you for ages, so I'm not just going to say I'm a now lover of the sport, being ultra competitive in lots of team sports. I've now found that it's the most infuriating sport, and I think that's why I also love it, because when you hit that one shot, you feel like I'm a professional, and then the other 99 are rubbish. And then it's that one shot that keeps coming back.
Honestly, if I do 18 holes, it takes me to the 17th hole to warm up. I'm not good at it. When I'm on the driving range, I'm brilliant. I can strike that ball. I'm absolutely brilliant. Get me on the golf course and apart. It's so frustrating. And my husband's wonderful. I go with my husband, and all he ever shouts at, head down. It's, I know what. There's so many things to remember, but yeah, there's such a joy from striking that ball, and it's just actually hits the fairway. It's lovely, really lovely.
I've written down so much that I'm going to try go through in order. So we've spoken around what sports you play, but what you first said with your item as well is that going through your period around the, did you say 14? Sorry, was it around that
Yeah, I
age?
was
It'd
14.
be, how was that in terms of your relationship with physical activity? What was that like? I don't know, you spoke around the different pads that you were wearing, but just in general, what was that experience like for you?
And yeah, it wasn't fun at all. Like I said, I've got a core memory of playing netball. I was centre at school, and I used to, in the olden days, in the early 80s, it was like these ginormous pads that my mum used to get. She used to buy a couple of packs and we'd all take them from her wardrobe. They were ginormous. And I do remember thinking, this is going to fall out. I'm jumping about, this is going to fall out. I'm not able to give 100% to the game when I'm centre. I'm a core player in the team. I remember that. But I had really debilitating periods. I ended up being diagnosed in my late 30s with endometriosis. So I had very heavy, very painful periods. But I do know that it never ever stopped me from playing. Although it was uncomfortable, there was a fear of leaking, there was a fear of it falling out. It never ever stopped me from playing. And again, another core memory is seeing a girl had written a note, obviously written it herself, but signed it by her mum, saying that she couldn't participate in PE lessons because of her period. And then thinking, why is that stopping you from playing sports? At the time, I didn't realise that I think there's so much information now about periods and the different cycle of your period and doing different sports and when you feel strong, when you feel weak. There's so much advice around that now. We didn't know about that then, and I just played every single day, every day at lunchtime and every day after school and at the weekends. So I know that my period never ever stopped me from playing. And I also know that I had very heavy, painful, debilitating periods. So I think I don't know, maybe a bit of an anomaly. Maybe I'm not like everybody else. I'm very determined, but I knew it made me feel good, and I knew that it brought like a calmness to me whenever I played sport. So it was a really massively important part of my life growing up.
So we started to lean into what the question is for the second one is already, which is fantastic podcast flow around the emotions linked to physical activity. With that, if I was to say what one emotion comes to mind, what would that one word be for you?
There's so many words that I can use to describe how sport makes me feel, but I've had a really good think about this, and it's contentment. It gives me such contentment. It gives me clarity, it gives me a calmness, it gives me a confidence, and I think all of that together is contentment. Yeah, I can honestly say I never had a bad game. I never had. It might have at the time felt like maybe a bad run or a frustrating game, but you come away feeling so exhilarated, and with that afterwards, there's a contentment. I'm so content with my body, how my body is able to move and to do all of these things. Yeah, I think that's my word, contentment.
No, that's fantastic. And I think there's been a few guests on who have been in a similar scenario of previously I was doing ultra competitive, highly motivated team sports, competitive activities, and transitioning more into what the body is now capable and able to do.
Or
So
not.
does or not able to do. I'm feeling that now, waiting for a knee up, which is very frustrating. But the part which was quite interesting around you saying like running and golf, they're very different to the types of activities that you were doing before. So how are you finding contentment in them at the moment?
I think with the running, it was difficult for me to find contentment with that to start off with, and it's only a very new thing with the running because I find it frustrating. I get very frustrated. I have played so many sports. When I was younger, I could run and run on hockey. You've got spurts of running, and then you've got the concentrating on the game. I with I'm just the slowest runner ever, honestly. And it used to really bother me because I'm very competitive. I used to go into every single game. I want to win this game. I'm not going out half-heartedly. Like I need to win this game, and that obviously got more difficult as I got older, and my body wouldn't move the way it was. And I'd move in hockey. I moved down in the teams, and we were losing every single week. But I found contentment from playing with the women, my fellow teammates. I love the whole camaraderie of the team and the just seeing everybody was like the best thing ever. So I found the contentment from that. With the running, how slow I am, I want to beat my park run every time I do it, and I'm not doing that. I'm getting slower, and I've got to the stage. I'm on Instagram. I say all these people, they're slow runners, and they've found contentment in that because I think, well, at least I'm getting out. I do a 5K, then I feel like I've got to do a 10K. And then I've done the 10K and I was thinking I need to do a half marathon and then I'll need to do a marathon. Actually, I don't. I don't. All I need to do is get out and move my body, and that's absolutely fine. So I was beating myself up for such a long time thinking, this is so hard. I'm not getting any better. I'm not improving. But actually, do I need to? As long as I'm moving my body, that makes me feel really good. I struggle sometimes to get out and do a run. When I get out and do it, I hate it. I'm not going to lie. I really find it difficult. I get back, literally within 10 minutes, I think, oh my God, I want to go and do that again. I
Yeah.
absolutely loved it. There's and like with golf, I get very frustrating game. I will cry sometimes going round, but afterwards I'm like, actually, do you know what? I was rubbish today, but I had a really nice walk, and I had a really lovely chat with my friends or my husband. Actually, maybe my putting was a little bit better than usual. Not my driving, that was rubbish, maybe. But I've been out and I've done it. I've moved my body. I've been in fresh air. I feel really good about myself. So I'm switching it around now from that whole competing side and being competitive with myself to a calmness and a clarity, and I'm reaping the benefits from that.
That's amazing. I think what we'll do now is go into your inspirational dinner party, which is the next question that we've brought back, and I'm really excited to hear who yours are. So there's yourself and three other people. Who are you going to be inviting to do with your relationship with physical activity, who have inspired you over the years?
You know what? I mean, this is really sad, but it would be my PE teachers to start. Obviously,
Mhm.
like I said, I went to an all girls secondary school, comprehensive school, and in the early 80s. And we had three women PE teachers. I'm going to pick one of them. I can remember two of their names. I'm going to pick Miss Whiting. Although she was really scary at the time, we just had so many sports that we could choose from every single day. And she was so inspiring to me, the way that she ran that department. She did so much for us girls, and I would absolutely love to see her again and bring her to dinner and say to her, you actually, I feel like she did change my life with the amount of opportunities I had through sport. So she would be one of them. Then my second one would be my mum, because although my mum didn't play sports, she loved sports and she watched all sports. We always had my mum like absolutely loves the Olympics so much. She loves it. It was always on. If there was any football, my mum watched the football. My dad was like a big boxing fan, but my mum, she loved the athletics. She loved the football. We always had, what was it, the sports program that used to be on. We used to watch the wrestling, any sports that was on, we used to watch it. But my mum was like my biggest fan. Out of me and I've got two younger sisters. I was the only one really who played sports. She would come to every single game, and I was mortified at the time. My mum was the only one who was ever there, and she would support me. She even came to my games when I was like in my 40s. She would come along to my hockey on a Saturday and watch my game. She really encouraged me to play sports. And even now, she appreciates how good it is to move your body. But she's never played sports. She was a runner when she was at school, but she did nothing. And I don't really think that they had the opportunities then. So, yeah, my mum, I'm a big fan of my mum for supporting me and encouraging me to play all of my sports. And then the last one is probably going to be, this is so cheesy, Denise Lewis, because
Not cheesy at all.
I do know her. I've met her a couple of times, and she's just incredible. She's such an incredible person. Obviously, watched her in the Olympics, and yeah, we loved Denise. She was just like, she's such an icon. But she was my couch to 5K coach. So she actually got me through the couch to 5K. I tried it at least three times with other people as my coach. Denise is the only one who could get me to actually complete it and to continue running. And she's funny and she's gorgeous, and she's obviously a dame now as well. She's a doctor. So I have the utmost respect for what she's done, not only in her professional career as a sportswoman, but being able to work after that and presenting. And she's just written a book. Yeah, I'd love to have her at a dinner because I think she's super fun, but just super impressive as well.
And it's really, really interesting what I'm picking up there, just as a side note, is it sounds like you had a lot of intrinsic motivation growing up, and we've spoken about obviously the transition into running, and obviously a lot more extrinsic factors had to come into play to motivate you to find that activity which is input, which is keeping you going. And it's
Yeah.
interesting that it's a Denise Lewis. So how's your mum been these days? And in terms of supporting you?
Yeah, no, especially in the business. My mum, bless her, she's 70, I want to say 74, maybe 75, and she still models for me in her knickers. A mother's love. She's on the website. Yeah, she's mortified, absolutely mortified, but that's a mother's love for you. She did this just for me. So she has always supported me and my sister. She's incredible. I wouldn't be the person that I am today without my mum. My mum is super inspiring in every way. She's just everything that she's done over the years has really been for all of us kids, and I appreciate my mum so much.
It seems like it'd be a very sporty table, of course, and it's some amazing women. It seems like, yeah, you have had some really good women role models in your life.
Definitely. And yeah, I think it's so important. So me and my husband, we fostered for 19 years, and our last placements were 4 girls, all the same age. The teenage years were pretty horrific. But because I played hockey, my husband was always sporty up until a degree. He was always injured, so he had to give up football. But he'd played hockey as a kid. Our 2 boys played hockey. One of them actually went on to play England under 16 and under 18. They were very good standard, both the boys. So because I was playing, I'd got my 4 foster daughters into playing as well. So having those role models for them, I knew even though my mum didn't play, she always encouraged me to play. She would take me to the sports because obviously I couldn't drive at that age. So she would take me to all of my hockey games on a Saturday, my netball games on the other Saturdays. So I did the same with my girls because I know how important sport is, and I know how easy it is for girls especially to give up. So I needed to make sure that I took them. They came to training with me. I took them to games on a Sunday. My husband also, he was super encouraging, and he also took the girls if I couldn't manage it. So yeah, we did. I think having a parent that plays sport or is super interested in sport really does help younger generation, your children, to come through and do the same as well.
So, on that note, we are going to start transitioning into the second half, which is about tackling an activity.
God.
So, what we do first, because now we know Kelly, and that's why I structured it this way, because I want the listeners to first understand you as an individual, not just the CEO of a really awesome organization. So now what we do is we have a section where, if you could introduce yourself as the CEO, what your organization does, and then we're going to dive into what you're passionate about in the field of tackling an activity.
Okay, so I'm the co-founder of NIXI Body, and we make really discreet leak-proof underwear for girls and women for bladder leaks, very light bladder leaks and periods. So I obviously started the company about 6 years ago because, like I said, I had really bad, heavy periods throughout my childhood. I had endometriosis, diagnosed with endometriosis when I was in my late 30s, and I ended up having a hysterectomy when I was 42. So I went from having really heavy periods to my first physical symptom of the menopause was bladder leaks. So, like I said, I was playing hockey at the time with a fantastic group of women, and all of us were in the same position. We would go to the toilet before the game, go to the toilet during like half time, and then straight to the toilet afterwards because we were all worried about either bladder leaks or periods. So as I said, had 4 teenage foster daughters in the house. They all had periods, and every week I was throwing away a bag of used disposable pads and tampons, and I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. This is just our household. What are the stats for us across the UK? What are we throwing away? And it turned out it's about 200,000 tonnes of waste every year just from disposable period products. So I looked online to see what I could use instead of disposables, and at the time there were some period knickers. I thought I'll give those a go. But when I was playing them, they were super bulky. They looked like I was wearing a nappy. I was really conscious, and actually probably felt more conscious than when I was wearing pads. So I thought there's got to be a better way to do this. So I designed a pair of knickers that are completely VPL free, so you can't see them underneath, like the tightest of gym leggings, and they are really absorbent. So we've got different levels of absorbency, different styles of knickers. I trialled them out with my girls at netball. They all loved them. And I was like, do you know what? I think I can make a business out of this. So yeah, this is what happened 6 years ago. And it was purely because of my love of sport. I was obviously worried about the environment. I know generally, I think women of my age aren't that worried about it. I think it's usually the younger Gen Z girls who are more worried about what they're wearing, their hormonal health, it's not good for their hormonal health, their vaginal health. There's plastics, there's chemicals in these products. and they're starting to look at other products now. There's not been a lot of innovation within the period care industry. We've literally been using towels and tampons for the past however many years, I think about 100 years. Menstrual cups came in about 20 years ago, which were great, but I actually needed them for bladder leaks. And obviously, I can't be wearing a menstrual cup for that. Yeah, we were designed to keep women moving through all life stages, through menstruation, through motherhood and menopause. And hopefully we're giving women the confidence to carry on, because we know periods and bladder leaks are a huge barrier to girls participating in sport. And I think the stat is, I think it's over 60% of girls, when they hit puberty, when they start their periods, give up on sports. And if we can just remove that barrier, help to remove that barrier, then that will make me feel really good. That's our job done.
So thank you first for that, and it's really it's an amazing story. And it always links very closely with the work I'm doing in the day job and under this Girl Can, and what we're trying to do in our next phase, which is so closely aligned. It's amazing. If you were going to then tackle inactivity,
Yeah,
where would you start? What is your preference?
I would start in nursery. I think we were really lucky. When I look at what all the sports that I did when I was at secondary school, and this is, like I keep saying, it's back in the 80s, we had so many opportunities. And I look at, so when my girls were at school, they didn't have the opportunities that we had. So if they wanted to do a class after school at primary school, we'd have to pay. And not every parent can afford to pay for their kids to do sports after school. And we were in a great position. So I think it needs to go back to nursery. We need to be getting kids moving and playing like little sports already. But investments, we need investments in school so parents don't have to pay for their kids to be playing these sports after school. And I know it's difficult, but I just feel if you get kids in school, you're getting kids who are moving their bodies. So maybe we can do something about the obesity problem that we have in this country. It's confidence. So when children play sports, it's giving them, you're working within a team. It works in your confidence. So you're making decisions. You're feeling confident about those decisions. You are communicating with other kids, adults, you're being able to take instructions. All of these things are so important for children, I think, growing up. Discipline, you learn discipline when you play sports. For me, it's like a no-brainer. Start investing from the very beginning and get these kids interested in any kind of movement. They don't need to be playing in team sports. I think there's a really small percentage of people that play in team sports, and it's such a shame because that's when you build your communities. I've got so many friends still from like 35 years ago that I played netball with. They're still my friends to this day. And these are women who are 20 years older than me. They're still my friends. Let's get that going. We need investment in these sports. And like we said, it's not just team sports, it's any kind of movement. So if we can get the kids to just do a little bit of, I don't know, yoga in the morning. I hate yoga, but I'd give it a go because I want to move my body. Kids need really good role models. So I think if we start them from young and then they turn into parents and they're playing sports and then their kids see them playing sports, it's a really great knock-on effect, I think. There's so many different things. There's the periods. That's a huge barrier to participation. Let's make it easier for girls to play sports when they're on their periods. Let's give them those packs where they can't turn around and say, no, I can't play because I'm on my period, I haven't got anything to wear. You've got kit there that you've got towels or tampons, or you've got your period knickers, so you can carry on playing with all of those and educate them around the fact that actually it's really good to work out on your period. You're going to feel so much better when you've worked out on your period. There's obviously problems with kit as well. Let's make sure that all kids feel comfortable in the kit that they're wearing. Let's not discriminate against kids and say you can't play because you've got leggings on. Who cares if you've got leggings on, you haven't got the right kit? Just get out there and play. I don't care what you're playing in. I just want you to play and move your body.
Yeah.
It needs to come from the government. It needs to start from like the very early days and invest in sports, because kids are just too quick to give up. If we haven't got these infrastructures in place, they're just not going to do it. Kids aren't motivated to go. Most kids aren't motivated to go out and join a team outside of school. We need to be encouraging them. We need to be giving them really good role models, and that's parents, that's school teachers, nursery teachers, neighbours, aunties, uncles. Anyone that plays a sport should be getting their family along, their neighbours, whoever, along and encouraging them to play. just breaks my heart that some kids don't get to do that. And if that's down to because their parents can't afford it, that's just not good enough. It's just not good enough.
I completely agree. I think the first part around investment into schools and nurseries, I've got a nephew who's just turning 2 next month, and he's super fortunate that my brother and his partner have been able to put him through so many different activities during the school time. They're during nursery time, but they still have to pay the additional fee for them.
Yeah.
It's like, so they feel like they are obliged to, otherwise their child's going to miss out on what another child can. So they're trying to work really hard to be able to afford, what was it, gymnastics on a Wednesday and baby yoga on a Tuesday, and then it goes into French on a Thursday as well. My brother and his partner are fortunate enough to be able to afford to do those things. Otherwise, the option is these kids are taken out of the class, and the other ones are just there to just play. And while just playing has its benefits, of course, those other ones are sold as these are going to develop the child more, and they and to have your child develop further, that comes at a cost.
Yeah, definitely.
Right at all.
Like we had 4 foster daughters, and they would all do netball after school at primary school. I would take them to hockey twice a week. I'm paying for all 4 of those to do all of that. I'm getting their kit for them. I'm getting their equipment for them, as well as having 2 boys who were playing at a very high level and having to pay for all that as well. So even when Finn got into the England team, you still have to pay for him to be in that. You have to pay for the kit. You have
Really?
to travel. It was in their day, in his day, like 10 years ago. Yeah, so that's not cheap. And if you want them to do it, what an amazing opportunity. How can you turn around and say, no, I can't afford it? I'm sure if I'd have turned around and said I can't afford it, someone would have said, let's try and help you. But, that there's so much expense that you incur from doing this. We should be supporting families to do it because the long-term benefits outweigh any cost. In the long run, it's going to, obviously, over time, it's got to save money. These kids aren't obese, so we're not having to worry about diabetes, things like that. And then they're sitting around, they're not doing anything, they're not getting jobs. And there's just such a bad knock-on effect from not being able to move your body, I think. Like motivation, sport is such a huge motivator for things in life. It makes you really want to go out and achieve things. It's definitely made me want to achieve things. I always want to do the best that I can, and I think that comes from playing sports. There's so many benefits to it. We need to start it from such a young age. It's criminal.
Yeah, investment from government. This is the one which has been spoken about on other podcasts as well. You have Department for Education we're talking about, and also DCMS, and it's been spoken about many times that they're so fragmented, and where should the investment come from? Sport England investment is not as much as others, like in health or education, so there's only so far that can go. And there's been some amazing examples of organisations, if we use the example of periods at the moment, organisations going into schools and educating, but it seems to be companies coming in rather than that education coming through the education system.
Yeah, we provide education as well, so but it shouldn't. We're happy to do it. We love to do it. We love to share about our knowledge of periods and whatnot. But actually, yeah, you're right. Why is it not coming from the government? Why is it left to these companies to be providing this information? Yeah, it's a strange one. It is a strange one.
I guess the role of a lot of sports development organisations, and maybe partly organisations like yourselves as well, is I didn't want to have to do this, but I have to solve this problem. It seems like there should be some more structural things in place for me not to exist. I shouldn't be talking about tackling an activity because then it shouldn't be an issue. And like yourself saying, you shouldn't have had to have created something because of the situation that you were in. So there's so many different things you spoke about are so clearly linked to schools, but then you also mentioned the role of role models, which it clearly shows that within your own personal experience as well. How much more do you think a teacher can do? Because of the experience that you had has been incredible, and teachers do a crazy amount now. So is it the role of a teacher to do more, or is it that we don't have the right people within schools on top of teachers?
I think that all teachers, not just PE teachers, all teachers nowadays have such a difficult job to do, and I totally appreciate that. I was at school 30 years ago. It was a completely different time. Although I was just very lucky in what we did, and we had, I think it was 3 women PE teachers, very passionate. And I'm not saying that the teachers nowadays are not passionate, but they have got such a difficult job to do. And I think especially in a girls' school. So having had 4 teenage girls in my house, pretty horrific at times. They were all the same age, so it was pretty horrific. It's so difficult to engage them in anything that's not on a mobile phone. If I'm honest with you, this is the trouble that I had with half of them, with two of them. All they wanted to do was to be on their mobile phone, and as soon as they were able to get on their phone, it was sport was pushed to the side. And it was only because I literally forced them to go, until it got to the stage where they would not get in the car to go to sport. Very difficult. So that, as a parent, was hard. But as a teacher, when you're trying to manage all of these different year groups, all of these different ages, all of these different personalities, how would you manage that? I have such empathy for any teacher, particularly a sports teacher, probably in a girls' school, secondary school. I don't know what the answer is. It's not down to them to be. Maybe I look at the girls' school, I'm trying to think of what sports they did, and they obviously, you've got your different terms, you do your different sports throughout the term. Just trying to find something that the girl is engaging with. It's really difficult. One of my girls was an amazing hockey player, but she fell out of love with it for a bit. But then she did badminton, and I was just happy that she was moving her body. She really enjoyed badminton. The other two, again, really good at hockey, but didn't want to do it. Kept talking about going to football. Let's get you to football. Didn't want to do it. It's so difficult to engage girls, I think, especially around the age 13 mark when they hit puberty, because if their friends aren't playing sports, they're not interested. They just want to be spending time with their friends. They don't want to look like the one who's having to go off on the coach to go and play a game somewhere. They don't want to be missing out. It's so difficult. I honestly don't know what the answer is, but I do. All I can think of is we just need to start it from as early as we can. Get them interested in and passionate about something. And it doesn't need to be the sports like the rugby, the netball, the football. There are so many other ways of moving our body that we can try to encourage. Again, I don't know the answer, but I do feel like parents need to be so involved. You don't stop parenting when they hit secondary school. They go to secondary school, you don't just then, right, this is it, you get on with your stuff. You still need to encourage, and you still need to take them to that activity, actively take them and pick them up to ensure that they are doing it, because I think in the long run everybody reaps the benefits. Generally, hopefully they're a little bit more tired and they'll sleep better, and they're not as miserable when they get back from their sport.
You've said it a few times, like you don't know the answer, and that's completely valid. And I think everyone's in that same space and why the title of this podcast is called "Working It Out," because
we're all trying to work it out still.
We're all trying to work it out, and then the concept of how can I get some founders, some CEOs, and get their thoughts together to see if collectively we have some cohesive opinion about how we can tackle an activity. I think there is two really important themes of what you said around nursery and investment, the opportunity, and then also the role of role models and parents around how they're engaging. Amazing things that we'll be adding to my map. So I really appreciate you coming on today and sharing first your personal story and also then your opinions on tackling activity. Thank you very much, Kelly.
You're so welcome. Thank you. And if I talked lots of nonsense, I apologise. This is the menopause speaking.